Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 4 Reddit stories for you. Reddit stories that will make you question everyone around you. Story 1. My neighbors called the cops on me for vacuuming. So apparently I'm a criminal now because I vacuum my apartment. I know that sounds insane, but just wait until you hear this story. I live on the second floor of a 4-story building with my wife, and our downstairs neighbors have literally made our lives a living nightmare over the most normal apartment sounds you can imagine. It all started with the absolute dumbest complaint I've ever heard. They said our morning alarm vibrations were too loud. My wife's a teacher and has to be at school by 7:30, I start work at 8, so we set our alarms for 5:30. These people actually complained that the vibration from our phones on the nightstand was disturbing them. Like, what are we supposed to do, oversleep and get fired? But it gets worse. They complained about us walking around our apartment. Walking. Like, normal human footsteps. They said we were stomping, but we're just existing in our own home. Then they complained about our shower running in the morning. Apparently taking a shower at 6 a.m. is too loud for them. At this point I'm thinking these people are completely unreasonable, but the final straw happened last week. I was vacuuming our apartment on a Saturday afternoon around 2 p.m. Perfectly reasonable time, right? Well, 20 minutes later, there's a knock on my door. I open it and there are 2 police officers standing there. The cops actually looked embarrassed when they told me why they were there. They said my neighbors called about excessive noise and disturbing the peace. The officers looked around, saw I was just cleaning my apartment, and basically told me to carry on but maybe try to keep it down. They were clearly annoyed they had to respond to such a ridiculous call. So after months of dealing with these impossible complaints, I decided I'd had enough. The very next morning, I made sure to take an extra long shower. I walked around normally but didn't tiptoe like I'd been doing. When my alarm went off, I let it run for an extra few seconds before turning it off. I even vacuumed again the next weekend, right at 2 p.m. when it's completely legal and reasonable to do so. My wife thinks I should just keep the peace and try to be extra quiet, but I think I'm being perfectly reasonable. These people are trying to control how I live in my own apartment that I pay rent for. Am I really supposed to walk on eggshells forever because they can't handle normal apartment living sounds? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. My friend accused me of doing cocaine because I popped my ears. My best friend of 10 years just accused me of doing cocaine, and I honestly don't know whether to laugh or cry about this. So me and my friend were driving to a concert last week. We were going through some high-altitude areas and I was already congested from getting over a cold. You know how your ears get all plugged up when you're sick and then you add altitude changes? It's miserable. So I'm doing what literally everyone does, I'm flexing my jaw to make my ears pop. You've done this a million times, right? Just moving your jaw around to relieve that pressure. Well, apparently my friend thought this normal human behavior was me being high on drugs. She was acting a little quiet during the drive, but I figured she was just tired from work. We went to the concert, had a great time, everything seemed totally normal. Then 4 days later, I get this text message that completely blindsided me. She's accusing me of doing cocaine and citing my jaw swinging as evidence. Jaw swinging. I had to read that message 3 times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I immediately called her and tried to explain what actually happened. I told her about being congested, the altitude, the ear popping, basic human biology stuff. But she wasn't having it. She said she'd been researching drug symptoms online and was convinced that's what she witnessed. I was so hurt and honestly kind of insulted. This is someone who's known me for a decade. She knows I barely drink alcohol, let alone do hard drugs. The fact that her first thought wasn't, hey, maybe my friend was just uncomfortable, but instead, my friend must be on cocaine really stings. I tried to stay calm and reasonable, but inside I was furious. How do you even respond to something like that? I suggested she talk to literally anyone else about what jaw flexing looks like when you're trying to pop your ears, but she seemed pretty set in her conclusion. What really gets me is that instead of asking me about it in the moment, or even the next day, she sat on this for 4 days. 4 days of apparently thinking her best friend was secretly a drug user. 4 days of probably analyzing every little thing I did at that concert through this weird lens she created. I don't even know how to move forward with this friendship. Part of me wants to just laugh it off because it's so ridiculous, but another part of me is genuinely hurt that she thinks so little of me. Is this the kind of person I want in my life, someone who jumps to the worst possible conclusion about me? Story 3. I'm done supporting my mother after she blew through $70,000. So my mom just burned through $70,000 in 2 years and now wants me to keep supporting her, but I'm finally putting my foot down. Here's the whole mess. My mother's in her early 60s and ended a 15-year relationship about 2 years ago. When they split up, she walked away with $70,000 in cash and a paid-off car. $70,000. That's more money than a lot of people see in years. Around the same time, my wife and I were deciding whether to renew our lease. My wife, being the thoughtful person she is, suggested we rent a house with a separate unit so my mom could move in nearby. We could help her get back on her feet while she figured out her next steps. We charged her way below market rent with the understanding that she'd use this time and money to get stable again. Maybe find a job, maybe go back to school, something to set herself up for the future. Well, that's not what happened. At all. Instead of being responsible with this incredible head start, my mom treated it like she'd won the lottery. She was constantly shopping, going out to expensive restaurants, taking little trips. I tried talking to her about budgeting and planning for the future, but she just waved me off saying she deserved to enjoy herself after everything she'd been through. I get wanting to treat yourself, but this was supposed to be her safety net. Fast forward to now, and surprise surprise, the money's gone. All of it. She came to me last month asking for help with rent, then groceries. Now she wants me to basically take over all her expenses. When I asked what happened to the $70,000, she got defensive and said it wasn't as much as it seemed and that life is expensive. Life is expensive, but not $70,000 in 2 years expensive when you're living in subsidized housing. The thing is, I'm not rich. My wife and I work hard for everything we have. We helped her because we thought she was going through a rough patch and would use the support to build something sustainable. Instead, she used it to fund a 2-year vacation from responsibility. Now I feel like I'm being manipulated. She keeps talking about how hard things are, how she doesn't know what she's going to do, making me feel guilty for not just opening up my wallet again. But I keep thinking about all the times I suggested she look for work, or maybe take a class, or just try to plan ahead. Every suggestion was met with excuses or just ignored completely. I told her I'm not going to keep enabling this pattern, and now she's telling other family members that I'm abandoning her in her time of need. But is it really abandoning someone when they've had every opportunity to help themselves? Am I wrong for refusing to throw good money after bad? Story 4. My upstairs neighbors were actually bowling in their apartment. You know how when you live in an apartment and hear loud noises upstairs, someone always jokes, "What are they doing up there, bowling?" Well, turns out sometimes they actually are bowling. This happened a while back, but I still tell this story because nobody believes it until I show them the proof. So I live in a brownstone that my family owns, and we rent out the upstairs apartment. The family living up there seemed nice enough when they moved in, seemed being the key word. After they'd been there for a few weeks, I started noticing some really weird sounds coming from upstairs. Not just footsteps or furniture moving, but this rhythmic rolling sound followed by crashes. At first I thought maybe they were rearranging furniture constantly, but it was happening at weird hours and way too frequently. The rolling and crashing would go on for hours sometimes, especially on weekends. I mentioned it to my girlfriend when she was over one day, and she made the classic joke, "Sounds like they're bowling up there." We laughed about it, but honestly, that's exactly what it sounded like. The rolling sound, then a pause, then a crash like pins falling down. But that would be crazy, right? Who bowls in their apartment? Well, curiosity got the better of me. One Saturday when the noise was particularly loud, I decided to go upstairs and just politely ask what was going on. Maybe there was some reasonable explanation I wasn't thinking of. I knocked on the door, and when the dad answered, I could see right behind him into their living room. And I swear I'm not making this up, they had set up a legitimate bowling lane in their apartment. They'd pushed all their furniture against the walls and laid out what looked like a wooden track down the length of their living room. At one end they had actual bowling pins set up, and there were bowling balls sitting right there on the floor. The whole family was standing around in their socks like they were at a real bowling alley. I must have had the most confused expression on my face because the dad immediately started explaining like this was totally normal. He said they'd bought a home bowling set online and thought it would be fun family entertainment. Fun family entertainment. In a rental apartment. With people living below them. I tried to be polite and explained that the noise was really disruptive, especially during early morning and late evening hours. He seemed genuinely surprised that it was bothering us, which somehow made it even more absurd. Like, how do you not realize that rolling heavy balls across wooden floors might be loud for your downstairs neighbors? We worked out an agreement where they could only use their home bowling alley during certain daytime hours on weekends. They actually stuck to it, which I appreciated, but I still can't get over the fact that this actually happened. Every time someone makes that bowling joke now, I have to tell them about the time it was literally true. Who thinks setting up a bowling alley in a rental apartment is a good idea? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.